Guys, there are spoilers for this film and this review. So if you don't want to suffer the consequences of the mummy's curse, go watch the film, then come back. You have been warned.
Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan HD, and this week we watched Lee Cronin's The Mummy, starring Natalie Grace and Jack Reynor. This is a body horror, demon possession movie that is a reimagining of the Mummy franchise, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And I will say, it was whatever. I mean, it was, an average modern horror flick. I mean, it wasn't very notable, but I think it was still enjoyable. I think I had a good time with it. But before I go on a little tangent, why I thought this film was average, I'll tell you why and more. Back to house.
I just want my daughter back.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan HD, and this week we watched Lee Cronin's The Mummy, the new, of course, Lee Cronin film, starring Natalie Grace, Jack Reynor, Laia, Costa, and May Calamawy. I'm very sorry, I probably mispronounced some of those. Either way, this film is a, body horror-ish, demon possession movie, and it is a Blumhouse production. And I will say, I will say this. I didn't really walk out of this film with any resentment. I think I walked out of it thinking, wow, that sure was a horror movie that I had some enjoyment of, but, with that said, though, I mean, it was just a run-of-the-mill popcorn movie, but, it wasn't, it was a decently enjoyable one. I mean, most of the time I was kind of laughing at the movie, not gonna lie. There were some parts of the movie that I found really amusing that I'm sure I wasn't supposed to find amusing, right? Maybe there were some parts of the movie I was supposed to find amusing, because, as I said, even though this movie does have, a serious story, I still feel like it's mostly just made for you to, go out with your friends and, just, have a good time watching a spooky movie, right? I don't really think it's that deep, you know what I mean? I don't really think it's that big of a movie, that conceptually, right? It's pretty simple, right? If you've seen other possession movies, say, Evil Dead, which, by the way, Lee Cronin made Evil Dead Rise, the most recent Evil Dead movie, which there are a lot of similarities with this one, and also I can tell there was a lot of inspiration from The Exorcist in this movie. But as I said, if you've seen if you've seen the Evil Dead movies, or if you've seen The Exorcist, this movie, I wouldn't really say is derivative, but I would say it takes a lot from those movies, and it just kind of follows that formula, child gets possessed by an evil ancient demon, right? And, the main characters are trying to figure it out at first, and then once they figure it out, they gotta vanquish the demon in a climactic, final showdown, essentially, with the demon, and there's usually some extra stuff they add there, but that's essentially the gist of it, right? There's a demon that possesses, the child, or possesses somebody close to the main character, and then the main character, scrambles to figure it out and how to fix it, right? Which I know is very general, but it's just kind of, that's possession movies. That's a lot of them. Either way, I think this film generally, as I said, there was some enjoyable stuff about it. One thing, as I said earlier, it's very body horror adjacent. I wouldn't call it full-on body horror or anything. The horror still very much is derived from the demon itself. The body horror aspect is just kind of a extra bit of gross out stuff that's added to the movie. That is also very Evil Dead-esque, right? But the demon that's possessing the girl, like, that's ripping out her skin, that's, like, actually, seals that are to hold back the demon and its power, right? So, of course, at the end of the movie, when it rips out all the seals, it's at full power, you know? It's unlimited power! You know what I mean? Because it is a demon. You'd think a demon would be pretty strong. But I thought that was pretty well done. I think there was a lot of, like a lot of the gross out stuff. Like, I think they did a really good job at making it look really grimy and making it look really, like, gross and disgusting, like all mucky and stuff like that. Made it look very grotesque, I guess is maybe a good word to use. And I think it kind of felt a little unbelievable to me that the girl at the end of the movie, she, like, Natalie Grace, when she, like, didn't have the demon in her anymore, like, she just, like, looked fine. Like, she didn't, like, have any scars or anything. And it's like, I think she would look a lot more fucked up. Like, if she, like, even if when she's fully healed, she'd have, like, scars everywhere, right? Without much the demon, because obviously it's a demon. It doesn't care how much it fucks up its host, right? It can just go to another one. So, like, I feel like she'd have a couple more, things to remember him by. But either way, that's neither here nor there. Either way, I think, but I also think, like, my main gripe with this movie is, I know I say this all the time, but I just feel like maybe I'm getting a little jaded towards horror movies. Because I just think that even though there were some things I liked about it, there were, like, as I said, I liked the gore effects. I liked, like, the, like, one scene where she was, like, trying to clip the girl's nails, and then she was, like, tugging on it, and she fucking ripped the nail off, and some of the skin came off of it, too. Like, I thought that looked really great, right? It was really, like, gross, and like, ugh, you know, like, ooh, nasty. Like, that's the reaction it tried to get out of you, and it did get that out of me. But I think, like, another problem with this movie, and I know this is completely subjective, right? This is probably the most subjective thing I'm going to say in the video. This movie was just not scary. At least to me. As I said, this is very subjective. And as I said, it's probably because, as I said, I've been jaded towards horror movies. I have seen so many horror movies over the last few years, after the amount of years I've been as an avid watcher of films, especially an avid viewer of horror films. I have watched so many different horror films from so many different avenues, and I just feel like I've seen so many movies like this before, and I just feel like, you know, to really wow me with a horror movie these days, you have to either do something that's already been done really, really well, or you have to, you know, think a little outside the box, right? Or you just have to be really, 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 really stupid and really fun, and then I'll give you like a 10 out of 10, purely on the stupid scale, right? I don't think this movie was quite 10 out of 10 stupid, right? If it was, like, that means it would just be full-on ridiculous. Like, this movie would have, like, cranked everything up to 10, right? Which it didn't, clearly, because it was still, like, trying to be a bit of a serious movie. You know, it wasn't trying to be all haha funny time, even though there was some moments in it that were probably supposed to be a little humorous. Like, but that's what I mean. Like, I think this film didn't really wow me, and I think it just kind of did what's already been done in a serviceable way. Like, I feel like a lot of the scares, as I said, didn't get to me. I feel like it felt really cookie cutter, simply because, like, I don't know, I feel like I could predict what was going to happen next, you know, and maybe that's not a problem for some people, but I think it's a bit of a problem for me, you know, especially for horror movies, because, like, I want to be shocked sometimes by a horror movie. You know, like, I want a horror movie to surprise me. And as I said, that doesn't even need to necessarily be, like, in a good way. Like, it can surprise me, as, like, a stupid way, and I can still get enjoyment out of that, right? Like, oh my god, that was so fucking stupid. Like, I can't believe that character just did that. That's amazing, because it's so fucking stupid. Again, this movie doesn't really do that, you know? And I think that's the thing that I'm trying to get at here. Like, the movie was serviceable, it was entertaining, but I think overall, it's just your run-of-the-mill Blumhouse horror flick, which, as I said, I don't hate Blumhouse. I think Blumhouse are actually really good for the film industry. I'm glad that Blumhouse is around. I'm glad that they're, you know, paying these, you know, like these directors and these writers and the people that work on these movies, because I think they're talented people. I think the people that work on these movies are talented people. And I'm glad they're getting an outlet to get their stuff out there, I guess is maybe a good way to put it. I have no hate for Blumhouse. However, I do make fun of them a lot, right? Because I've seen a lot of their output, and they're usually very hit or miss. Because you either think their movies are really fun, or you think their movies are really bad or boring. There's not usually much in between. But I think this movie could be an in-between, possibly, because I don't think it was horrible. And I think, as I said, I had a decent enough time having a good old holly jolly laugh at it. It was a good old time. But I think I'm rambling here. I think I'm just gonna wrap it up here. I guess, just to summarize, I think the movie was fine, but I think if you're looking for, like, a great, amazing horror movie, you're not really going to get that here. But if you don't really care about that, knock yourself out. I think it's perfectly serviceable, and I think it's perfectly fine to, like, you know, if you have a group of friends, or, like, you know, like, siblings or something, or whatever, go out, watch this movie, have a good time. It's probably good enough for that to be a fun night out. Either way, those are my recommendations. And you may ask, well, Ronin Time HD, what would you rate this movie? And I know you didn't ask that question, but I'm going to answer it anyway, because I asked the question. I ask the questions around here. Either way, I'm going to rate this movie a 6 out of 10. And, yeah, I think I've said what I say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, I hope you like this video. Share it with friends. Subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Comment down below on how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. What I really meant to say, if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike it, tell me how much you hate me in the comments. And I've been Reynor HD, off to bind a demon.
You know, so I was watching this movie, right? And I know this might be a bit of an irrational complaint, but I was watching it, and there was like 50 billion fucking split diopter shots. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, ooh, cool, split diopter shot. Then it happened again. I'm like, okay, cool, another one. And then it happened again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, stop it. I get it. You learned what a split diopter shot is. You don't need to use it in every single scene. And it's just like, they didn't look cool, man. Like, they all just felt so unnecessary. Like, maybe the first couple felt cool, but then the rest of them were like, Jesus Christ, just get it over with. I don't know. It's irrational, but it may have bumped it down a little bit for me, because I'm like, fucking stop it. I get it. You like split diopter shots. I do too. But you overdid it, and you ruined it. You didn't ruin it, but you almost did. You didn't. But I feel like you could have.